Everybody's at a different spot in their own Bitcoin journey. And so when we say things and we talk about topics, it hits people differently at different times. And so we might have a topic today that we talk about, and then somebody might come back in 6 months and rewatch it, and they might hear a totally different perspective of it. So I think it's good to keep in mind that everybody's at a different spot in their Bitcoin journey. And I'm thinking it'll be a pretty good chat today with three of us, because we have more, bouncing around to do instead of waiting for our fifth time to get some input into it. It can be more quick, and there's lots to talk about. So where are we headed today?
I think it's so fun. I just saw that comment. I will comment on that because Austria lost in the World Cup yesterday. It's very hard to watch because Messi is just way better than the whole team, and it was hard to watch. But yeah, like Austria is not a huge football or soccer. Yeah. I don't know where you guys stand on football or soccer. I don't have really a hard stand on that. But yeah, it was hard to watch it because Austria is not a huge football nation. We have been to the World Cup not for 30 years, and now it's the first time we are back at the World Cup for 30 years. Wow. And then we are going against the number one, the champion from last time, with Argentina, with arguably the best footballer alive, with Lionel Messi. And yeah, we lost. So I'm surprised.
Flash, we lost.
There's another good comment there from Comedy Mysterious World there. And it's actually something I said last week, something along the lines of just how much I appreciate everybody who's here now. Like, I know that there's still a lot of people who are fighting and arguing with each other, but the people who show up here, I think that you might not know it today, you might not realize it yet, but the time and work that you're putting in at this stage is going to pay massive dividends in the future. And just because the world's not telling you that isn't worth that much yet, it is. It's just that everybody else hasn't figured that out yet. And so I think that the more conversations we can have like this, the more it spreads. And, that's how anything changes in the world, is by speaking it into existence. And so big shout out to everybody who's still here in 2026 after a huge crash, after all this animosity, and you're still here in the live chat with us. So, it was a shout out to us, but it's also a shout out to everybody who's tuning in today.
Yeah. I mean, like you said yesterday, Jordan, Bitcoin's 99% off, 50% from its all-time high, but it's 99% off from its true value. So, get it while you can. And we're early. And like we've said many times before, it's kind of what you're alluding to. You got to love to battle. You got to love to fight. Most in a 4-year cycle, what are the numbers? I don't know if it's 10 days of the year, if it's 10 days in a cycle when you have like the most explosive gains. So no matter what that actual number is, majority of the time, 98% of the time, you are down or sideways, and you have to understand that. You have to be okay with that, and that goes, flow chart back to you got to love to grind, you got to love to battle, you got to love showing up every day and just getting punched in the face, and that's just life. That's how things go. And if you're not okay with that, then yeah, I mean, maybe some sanitized investments might be your cup of tea, 401ks and RRSPs and whatever the government gives you. So it's not for the faint of heart. No revolution is just not. We're coming up on America's 250th anniversary, obviously, and the British were coming to take the weapons cache, and a few people, not many, stood up and said, "Yeah, we're not doing this. You're not taking that stuff." And there was other guys doing other things, whether it was Washington, finding out that the British were coming. It was Thomas Jefferson and some of those guys drafting the Declaration of Independence while all these things were happening in the weeks leading up to July 4th. But it's not for the faint of heart, and there's a reason that in that declaration it says, we pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, because it's true. It's not just like some words that were scrolled out there, just like, oh, just because, we're going to hang separately, we're going to hang together. And whether we think this stuff is coming or not, it's coming. I mean, look at Christine Lagarde this past week or whatever, last few days, just saying rolling out CBDCs even harder. It's like, is there one person, one in the world, right, left, up, down, black, white, is there anyone? I've never met anyone in my life saying, yes, I want a CBDC. Not one. I've never in my life seen it. Not one. So why are we pushing these things forward? And those are the questions you have to ask yourself as just a citizen of any country, wherever you are, and just be like, why are governments doing these things? Like, what is happening? Why are we, we got to protect kids. We got to do these things and censor them from the internet, or Like I can't figure that out myself. I can't do that myself. I can't parent my own kids. I mean, government just becoming daddy and just daddying you harder in every walk of life. And we're at a time that try men's souls. So it's time to wake up and smell the coffee.
It's so interesting because if you really think about it, they push digital money, and a lot of people hear that and say, "Oh yeah, that's great. That's like Apple Pay. I don't wanna carry my notes. I don't wanna carry my coins, and I just wanna pay like tap and all of those things." And they don't think first of all about the second order consequences. They just want to have the convenience, and so I think we already have that convenience. We already have digital payments. We already have all that infrastructure since like a very long time. I mean, Apple Pay is popular and dominant since a very long time now. I mean, not decades, but like years dominant. And so you now have the central banks pushing for a different kind of digital currency. And if you really think about it, everything is a central bank digital currency. Like literally, like if we think about the euro that goes over Apple Pay, like for me, that's already a currency that is centrally controlled, that is digital, and has a bank in there. And so like it already has the things. So why are they pushing this new thing? What is different with them? They have even more control. That's the only that's literally the only part of like having even more control over that. So it's like, do you really want to like support that? If people would have thought about that question hard and deep and like from first principles, they wouldn't, but they don't. They just wanna they compare the CBDC and digital euro and digital whatever with, oh, it's like Apple Pay. It's more convenient to pay things and it's easier. That's not the point.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going to say is like, what's the difference between a CBDC and what we already have? Like, is that just another way of saying we're taking away physical cash?
I think so.
Because I don't really see any difference. Even if Canada came out and said, "Hey, we're issuing this CBDC," literally, what's different than the Canadian dollar right now?
Right.
And yeah. I mean, one of the things that I talk about a lot is like trading units of illusion for units of reality in terms of dollars to sats, and units of the worst money in human history for units of best money in human history. And the reason I say is because like, even if you think about these dollars here, like, yeah, Federal Reserve note, horrible, but at least it took some freaking energy to make this paper and energy to create it through the printing press. Digital dollars literally take zero energy to create. So even if this was like a fraction of a penny to create, and the difference between a $1 and a $100 bill was just the number on it, there was still some sort of energy there. And yeah, it is convenient to be able to pay people directly and pay people without carrying around all your coins and cash and stuff. But I think that the real thing about CBDCs is a lot of people tie Bitcoin to it. I think that'll be the most damage that we see from it. Because in my life, I probably won't even notice anything. CBDC, Canadian dollar, who cares? It's all digital anyways. But there's a lot of people out there who do not trust the government, do not trust the banking system, refuse to get into Bitcoin because they think it's a CBDC equivalent or a version of that. And it's simply because they haven't put in the work, but it's still a big hang up for Bitcoiners and for the Bitcoin network. So that's my biggest fear about it, is that people tie it with Bitcoin.
And it's so frustrating because I literally got that comment yesterday, and I read it, and I was kind of frustrated because this is a guy that should be on the Bitcoin mission. He wrote screw everything digital. And I know if I meet this guy, he's 100% diehard Bitcoiner who has no clue about Bitcoin.
That's what I mean.
Which is exactly this frustrating thing of like, yeah, I get it. I wouldn't trust digital, but you don't have to trust it. You can actually verify it. You can look it up yourself. You can do all the verification yourself. You can run your own node. You can verify the source code. You can go line by line through it. What is it doing? Do I like this, what it does? Do I like this, what it does? Why does it do that? Why doesn't it do that? And so if you go through it, you recognize that. But all those like digital euros and digital yen and digital dollars talk kind of sucks Bitcoin into that conversation of being digital money and being the same as the digital euro, which couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, and I was saying this yesterday at one point that it's just more bad things have to happen, unfortunately. And as much as, it's funny because it's the only thing that really drives me to do this and to be outspoken about stuff and actually not just go, sit at the farm all day and do nothing else and just be around my family all day. You're trying to stave off the bad things from happening. But the more you do this and the more you talk to people, you realize, oh no, we just need more bad things to happen. People need to touch the stove. There's no converting people. I'm blessed in the sense I probably orange pilled, 5, 10, maybe a dozen, 10 to 15 people, I don't know, in my life, a fair amount of people. But it takes time. I mean, a lot of, no one's ever like, oh yeah, hey, the very first thing, it's taken 10 years, maybe one person a year, and they eventually come back to you or something happens, they get orange pilled through something else. So I don't know if it's me necessarily orange pilling them. It's just like I'm floating the idea out there, right? And then something else happens to them. It's Canadian trucker protest, the Dutch farmers, getting welded into your home during COVID, and people waking up, seeing, crazy events going on their Twitter feed or on the news. That's what orange pills people, red pills people, and or orange pills people. And then they say, oh, this guy talked about this, and then the connections are made in their head, because it's really the vibes, the power, the energy that's going to convert people moving forward, the winning. That's why, like, at the end of the day, we do need Bitcoin's price to go up. It has to go up, and it will. We have to protect it, make sure it's decentralized and secure. We know governments are going to print money ad infinitum forever, because that's the playbook. Financial repression is the game. So it's just being patient, like you guys kind of alluded to in the beginning. It's just showing up, being here every day. Don't get over your skis and do play funny games and get really fancy. Be in the game. You can't win the Bitcoin lottery if you're not in the game, if you don't have any Bitcoin. Get in the game, stay in the game, custody your Bitcoin, and be here long term. Be smart and provide more value to society than you take, because this is going to play out long term. It absolutely will, but patience is the key. And because it's not going to happen on the timeline we think it should, because again, most people, the diminishing returns are here in the sense of people who just are looking for something different, are wanting something different. We've hit that like early adopter diminishing returns phase, and now we're like struggling. You're like shifting gears, right, in a car or whatever it is, where it's like you kind of hear like the boom boom, and you're like, that's what happens, and that's where we're going to this next phase of the world, where you're going to have a lot of people get orange pilled through bad events or whatever is happening. And so that, in a way, kind of leads us even to some of these other things, which I said yesterday at one point, which was the BIP 110 stuff, or the core crowd, or treasury companies, or the quantum, FUD people, or whatever it is. You have to be careful in a lot of these senses, because a lot of people, we get over our skis too fast, too soon, and we're doing things that aren't even here yet. So you have to be careful. Patience is the name of the game. And just being even more patient than you think is even what it should be, I guess. You have to be so patient, and being here long term is really the plan. It's not trying to get fancy and activity bias and do all the fun and games now. It's let governments print the currency, do what they're going to do. Bad things will end up happening. The system will freeze over, and you'll be there to pick up the winnings at the end of the day. So that, to me, is the big thing. And the only way we get in trouble is we psyop ourselves, we destroy ourselves, the human part of it, and we wreck what we have right in front of us. That, to me, is the biggest threat that they're facing.
Yeah, I see. I'm streaming this on Rumble, and there's a couple of people over there. I don't know why the comments aren't pulling through to the channel here, but I see Jerry Loves Freedom over in the Rumble chat over there. And it made me think of a couple different things here. So, Jerry actually posted a really good video the other day talking about how nobody cares that the supply is 21 million Bitcoin. And that's just one example. And I think that as we think about like the adoption and things, Brandon mentioned it, like even us who spend all our time in Bitcoin, it's still very difficult to get somebody to cross the threshold and be interested in Bitcoin. And so that's what Jerry was talking about. He used the 21 million as an example, but I think it's a lot of the things that we talk about. I agree with Jerry in the sense, like, people don't care. People don't give a shit that there's 21 million, because there could be 21 million of anything. But if they don't know what those things are and what they can do and how powerful they are, it means nothing to them. So I started thinking about, like, so how do you I guess the main focus for me, and I think for all Bitcoiners here, are how do we increase adoption? How do we get those people? And I agree with Brandon. It is definitely touching the stove. It's, doing something stupid or getting your bank account frozen or whatever. But the average person, it's pretty rare, I think, especially here in like Canada, UK, the US. So it's like, what is it? And then I started thinking also along the lines of Jerry is he watches this guy. I don't know his name. I forget his name now. LV or something. LV. He's a political guy.
Yeah, LV Nations. I
LV
recently
Nation.
actually had him on the podcast. Super base guy, huge following in the political space, and an extreme Bitcoiner. And he has this political show with like hundreds of thousands of views. Like as a YouTuber, like hundreds of thousands of views per video, and he pushes them out like once a day. And he wears the Bitcoin hat when he talks about politics and all of those things. Sorry, like a great guy, like Lou. I think Lou. I don't know his name. Lou Valentino, exactly. Great guy. I met him. We did like a 2-hour podcast.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the point that I was trying to make there is like, I've always thought that if we could find guys like that who are talking to the non-Bitcoin crowd already and get them to talk about Bitcoin and wear a Bitcoin hat, that actually might trickle over into Bitcoin. But he sent a lot of his audience over to Jerry because Jerry talks about Bitcoin all the time. But like the majority of those people, even though this guy, they like worship him as like a political guy, he talks about Bitcoin. He has the Bitcoin hat. They still have zero interest in learning about Bitcoin.